The film begins with Sam attending a party at his ex-girlfriend's apartment. His presence at the party is not for socializing or rekindling a relationship, but to collect his belongings, which are still at her place. When Sam arrives, his ex-girlfriend informs him that he must wait, as there are many guests at the party. Initially, Sam agrees to wait patiently, hoping to retrieve his things and leave quickly. However, as time passes and he remains unattended, his patience begins to wear thin. Eventually, he asks his ex-girlfriend once again about his belongings, and she directs him to a nearby room where he can find them. She asks him to wait in the room so that they can talk privately later, but Sam, growing more frustrated, locks the door behind him. Inside the room, Sam begins to search for his belongings. His attempts to find what he needs are interrupted when blood begins to pour from his nose, forcing him to lie down and take a rest. While Sam sleeps, a loud scream echoes from outside the room. The following morning, Sam wakes up intending to leave with his belongings. But when he steps outside the room, he is horrified by the scene that greets him. The apartment is in complete disarray with blood splattered everywhere and no sign of life. To his shock, people, once party-goers, including his ex-girlfriend, have turned into zombies. The horror of the situation sets in as Sam tries to grasp what has happened. His ex-girlfriend is now one of the undead, and Sam realizes that the world around him has collapsed into chaos. In the face of this terrifying new reality, Sam tries to maintain some sense of calm and rationality. As he searches for answers, he hears a strange noise coming from below. When he investigates, he discovers that a man had shot himself after killing his wife, who had turned into a zombie. The man's tragic actions are a grim reminder of the violence and despair the world has descended into. Sam takes the man's gun and supplies, knowing that they might be useful for survival in the coming days. He secures the building by closing doors and windows, trying to keep the zombies from entering. He then begins to explore the apartment, marking rooms as either safe or occupied by zombies, which will be crucial for his survival in the days ahead. The days that follow are spent with Sam trying to stay alive. He checks every room for food and supplies, storing whatever he can find. During one such exploration, he encounters an old man who has turned into a zombie in the building's elevator. Sam, seeing that the zombie is not aggressive, chooses not to kill it. Instead, he ties the iron gate of the elevator with a belt, opting to avoid confrontation. While it might seem a small act of mercy, it also reflects the mental state Sam is in. The isolation is starting to take its toll. To stave off the overwhelming loneliness, Sam engages in activities like playing his music, making recordings, and trying to occupy his mind. Despite the distractions, the solitude gnaws at him. Days blend together, and the realization that there are no other survivors in sight begins to set in. The city is eerily silent, devoid of life. Sam, realizing that the silence and isolation are becoming unbearable, begins to entertain himself by shooting zombies for sport, playing music at high volumes, and even exercising to keep his mind and body occupied. However, his actions unintentionally attract more zombies to the building. Sam wonders whether there are other survivors in the city, but as the days pass without any sign of life, he begins to lose hope. The city feels like a tomb, and Sam feels trapped in this decaying world with nothing to look forward to. The loneliness is crushing, and as the days stretch on, Sam starts to lose his grip on reality. He talks to a zombie he refers to as Alfred, pouring out his thoughts and frustrations as if Alfred can still understand him. In an effort to find some relief from his increasing isolation, Sam begins to collect various items to collect water when it rains. But his plans are interrupted when, one day, he sees a cat passing by. Desperate for any form of companionship, Sam goes downstairs to try and feed the cat. However, the cat runs away in fear, and Sam, in his desperation, chases after it. As he chases the cat, zombies begin to chase him, forcing him to run back into the building and lock the door. Sam is left feeling dejected and frustrated, realizing how much he is craving even the briefest connection. His injury, a scrape on his leg from the chase, further adds to his anxiety. Fearing that the wound might turn into a zombie bite, he contemplates ending his life, believing the injury could be the beginning of his transformation. But after a tense moment, Sam realizes that it was just a minor injury, and his relief is palpable. As time passes, Sam begins to notice something strange. The zombies in the building seem to have disappeared. He checks the area but finds no trace of them. No living humans either. In the silence, he is left with only questions and more uncertainty. The weather grows colder, and Sam, feeling the effects of the harsh environment, decides to take a hot bath. But the bath only serves to make him more aware of the crushing loneliness surrounding him. As he adjusts to the isolation, Sam finds himself slipping deeper into a sense of despair. In his lonely world, Sam continues his routine of talking to Alfred the zombie in the elevator, and even starts to lose his sense of self. He plays his drums loudly, trying to fight the feelings of emptiness. However, his music only draws more zombies to the building. In a moment of desperation, Sam realizes that he is slowly losing his grip on reality. His hope for survival becomes more tenuous as he questions whether there is any purpose to his existence in this forsaken world. One night, Sam is awoken by a noise outside. When he investigates, he discovers that it is a woman, Sarah, who has survived the outbreak. Sarah's sudden appearance brings a glimmer of hope to Sam's otherwise bleak existence. She shares her own story of survival, explaining that she has been moving between buildings to avoid the zombies. Sam is overjoyed to meet someone else who is alive, and for the first time in a long while, he feels a sense of connection. He introduces Sarah to Alfred, the zombie he's been talking to, and they begin to form a bond. Sam's mental state improves with Sarah's presence. For the first time in weeks, he has someone to talk to, someone to share the experience with. He opens up about his daily routine and the things he has been doing to survive. Sarah, in turn, shares her own experiences of survival and warns Sam that they must be cautious of Alfred, as the zombies could become a threat at any time. Sam, though grateful for Sarah's companionship, begins to realize how much he has changed since the outbreak. The comfort of having another person around helps him feel more human again, and the crushing loneliness he had been enduring begins to dissipate, even if just slightly. However, their time together is short-lived. Sam, ever the survivor, decides to raid one of the zombie-infested rooms to gather more food. When he returns to the room, he discovers that Sarah is missing. Panicked, he searches the building and finds her on the roof. Sarah, tired of the constant uncertainty, tells Sam that they can no longer stay in the building. She believes there might be other survivors out there who have established safe shelters. Sam, however, is terrified of leaving. The idea of venturing into the unknown is too much for him, and he tries to convince Sarah to stay. But Sarah, understanding how dangerous it is to remain in one place for too long, insists that they leave. Sam, still afraid, can't bring himself to follow her. In a shocking revelation, Sam discovers that everything he experienced with Sarah was a hallucination. Sarah has been dead since the night he found her, and Sam was only imagining her presence to cope with his isolation. The truth devastates him. He is left alone again, forced to confront the reality that he is entirely on his own in the world. After a tearful funeral for Sarah, Sam begins to clean out her belongings. He finds that Sarah had been married, but her entire family had died in the outbreak. This realization hits Sam hard. In the wake of his grief, Sam decides to follow Sarah's advice. He burns the recordings he had been using to stave off loneliness, deciding to let go of the past. As he prepares to leave the building, he remembers that he needs to check on Alfred. In a final act of mercy, Sam releases the zombie from the elevator. But just as he is about to leave, the fire alarm goes off, and the smoke from the burning recordings draws the zombies back to the building. With zombies closing in on him, Sam fights his way through the building and climbs up the elevator shaft. In the chaos, Sam is knocked unconscious but later regains consciousness, determined to escape the building. He climbs the rope he had prepared earlier, and the film ends with Sam making his way through the wreckage of the city, climbing from one building to the next, still fighting for survival in a world overrun by the undead.